Please enjoy responsibly.
Pardon the interruption, but I'm Mike Wilbon. Bears head coach Ben Johnson is still getting attention for taking off his shirt in front of the cameras, Tony. Would you ever do that?
Tony Kornheiser, no. Not since I did those 3 adult films in the 70s. No, I'm not going back there, no.
Those are like VHS tapes, right? They're on the shelf somewhere, wherever they're shelved.
They're not exactly on the shelves. They've been burned, okay? They're gone. Incinerated, evaporated. No. Nobody's to see that. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, we will preview Saturday's college games and Sunday's NFL games, and then Taylor Twellman will handle the World Cup draw and the MLS Cup. But we begin today with the Detroit Lions once again getting a win in the next game after they took a loss. The Lions beat the surging Dallas Cowboys last night 44-30, blowing holes in Dallas's recently solid defense. Jahmyr Gibbs, 3 touchdowns. But this was not a romp. It was a one-score game for much of the fourth quarter. Wilbon, what does this result mean for each team?
First, what it means for the nation. It means that you and Greeny and Stephen A have to shut up for a while, except I'm sure you'll come up with a petition that says the Cowboys should just be waived into the playoffs for your storytelling purposes. Just put them above Ohio State and Indiana. So I'm sure you guys will come up with that. But the rest of us who are a little more reasonable about this, here's what it means. Get the Cowboys out of here. 9%. They've got to run the table, which they won't do, and get help. They were feisty. Good for them. But their defense went back to a place it was where I saw them in person here in Chicago, where the Bears gashed them for more than 40. They're not good enough to be in the playoffs. They're not good enough to be a threat. I'm not sure whether Detroit is or not, but Detroit at least took a step in the right direction, and now they'll deal for the next 4 weeks with the Bears and Packers, and that will be a real storyline, and we can get the Dallas Cowboys the hell off the stage.
Yeah, I mean, look, I know what I've said about the Cowboys. I know I said I was fixated on the Cowboys, and I was fixated on the Cowboys, and I wish they would run the table because, in fact, they're great fun to watch. They score a lot of points, and they give up a lot of points, and it's very, very entertaining, and Dak Prescott is very good. But I also said it'd be an elimination game. So they're out. I accept that they're out. The thing about Detroit that always impressed me is this thing where they win after they lose. This is the 15th straight time, Mike, that they have won the next game after losing a game. That ties the NFL record of all time. They've done it over the last 3 years when they were a playoff team. My problem with them and what stumps me about them is I think they should be better than they are on offense and defense. I like them, but they lose a lot of games. You can say they lose to high-quality teams, twice to the Packers this year, once to the Eagles, once to the Chiefs. They're high-quality teams, but it's a lot of games that they have lost. And the fact of the matter is when you go to the playoffs, you draw a good team. And if you lose, you can't come back the next week to win the game because you're out. So that's what I'll say.
And Tony, also, when you lose your starting safety, and they've had injuries last year that undermined that team, and now they could be on that road again. I hope they're not. Even though I want to see the Bears beat them, I don't want to see them succumb to injuries like they did last year. We've got more compelling matchups to come this weekend. The Colts and Jags meet in an AFC South matchup of 8 and 4 teams. The Steelers and Ravens meet in a battle of the 2 6 and 6 teams atop the AFC North. And the Bears and Packers meet with first place in the NFC Central on the line. Tony, which of this weekend's NFL matchups is of the biggest consequence to you?
I'm going to stay away from the Packers and the Bears. That is your account. I'm going to leave all of that to you. And I'm going to go off the board here because to me, the most consequential game is Houston at Kansas City. If Houston wins that game, Kansas City is not going to make the playoffs. Kansas City hasn't missed the playoffs since 2014. And in the interim, they have won 3 Super Bowls and they've been to 5. Their offensive line, they got 2 starters who are doubtful for this game.
That's bad.
And Houston has a great defense. Yeah. If Houston beats them, that is the biggest news out here. If Kansas City's not in the playoffs, that is the biggest news. The other reaction I have is to the Steelers-Baltimore game, and it's for first place in the division, but neither team has been very good this year. I'm going to take it from a different angle. if Baltimore were to beat Pittsburgh, let's say by 2 touchdowns or more, I think you'd hear a much bigger drumbeat as to Mike Tomlin not being in Pittsburgh next year. So I think this could be a consequential game for his career there, though I don't necessarily, I know Lamar Jackson is cleared to play, but he hasn't been himself. So I don't necessarily think Baltimore's going to win.
That's why Baltimore-Pittsburgh is the most important of these results to come. I agree with you on Kansas City, by the way. And the times that the Chiefs fall or falter, it's almost always due to the offensive line, having some issue, being vulnerable, and the offensive line seems like it'll wander into Sunday's game with some vulnerability. Tony, Lamar Jackson, I've been looking at this all year, fretting over Lamar Jackson, not being the nuclear Lamar Jackson we've seen for the last 6 or 7 years. He's not that dude. Maybe it's temporary because of injury, maybe not. But Tony, that's the game where there's urgency because that window's closing. If Baltimore can't get through it now, to me, they're done. And we know Pittsburgh, between Tomlin and the questions there, between 87-year-old quarterback Aaron Rodgers, that game has some urgency to it now.
Yeah, I'll just quickly mention another quarterback. Joe Burrow is going to play in Buffalo. The Cincinnati Bengals are 3-0 when he plays. 3-0. Maybe he can make it 4-0. Let's move to college football and the conference championship games this weekend. There are 4 tonight, including Tulane and North Texas in the American Championship. James Madison goes tonight in the Sun Belt Championship. All those teams I just mentioned are ranked. There are 5 tomorrow, including Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, Indiana, BYU, Texas Tech, and Duke, Virginia. Wilbon, how much does this weekend still matter, and which game is the most interesting to you?
Tony, I think the glut of games is still pretty cool. I'm going to try to watch a lot of them and maybe parts of all of them. And I'm not going to say the weekend means as much as it did 10 or 12 years ago when the conference championship seemed to have more weight and urgency, like a team might fall out and not be able to make it. But I think the matchups are pretty cool. And you know what? I'm not so jaded, and I'm jaded about college football in some ways, but I'm not so jaded that I'm not interested in Ohio State and Indiana, 1 versus 2. What the hell? 1 versus 2. It used to be that we didn't even get that matchup all the time. We didn't get those 2 teams at the top of the polls facing each other every single year. Ohio State, Indiana, that's what I'm most fired up for.
I agree with that. And even though it's your Big Ten account, I agree with that. I will say that we are not going to know how much this matters until Sunday when they have the final poll from the College Football Ranking Committee. And then we're going to pay attention to Alabama if they lose. Because you want to see if a 3-loss Alabama team would move ahead of, say, Notre Dame with 2 losses. And I think that's what the committee started to do by putting Alabama ahead of Notre Dame, to say, we won't penalize you if you lose a conference championship because you got to a conference championship. The most consequential one other than that to me is Duke and Virginia. Because if Duke gets in, they're not getting into the playoff. Not with 5 losses, even if they win. Now, Virginia should win. Virginia, I think, last month beat Duke at Duke 34-17. But if Duke wins, you're going to see 2 Group of 5 teams and no ACC teams. That's my opinion anyway. That's, I believe, the way it was set up. I do.
No,
All
Tony,
right,
I don't disagree with you on that.
Coming
Duke,
up.
Virginia, who thought that game was going to have any juice at all?
Right.
And Virginia should have put this away a couple of weeks ago, and they have.
You know what, Mike? I think it's the most impactful game, but that doesn't mean I want to see it. Let's take a break. Coming up, the World Cup draw was completed this afternoon. We're going to ask Taylor Twellman to break down Team USA's early path.
We're also going to ask him about your boy Messi and Inter Miami's matchup against Vancouver tomorrow in the MLS Cup. I'm sure you'll be just locked in on that one.
Well, no, you're Mr. Soccer. You go to the Premier League. You know the names of all the teams.
No, yeah. I go to the Premier League. I like going to the Premier League. Yes, I do. And World Cup.
Yes.
I went to World Cup in Moscow. Yes.
Good.
I'm going.
Pardon?
The World Cup draw was completed today, and we've got the MLS Cup tomorrow. So there's no better time to have with us the lead analyst for MLS Season Pass on Apple TV, Mr. Taylor Twellman, in studio.
Yes, sir.
Love
Yeah,
that.
in
Let's start
studio,
with
and
this.
you guys aren't. Thanks for having me. Appreciate this.
Yeah, well, we like you, but we don't like you that much. Okay, here we go. The Americans in Group D, they will play Paraguay, Australia, and the winner of Playoff C in Group Play, and I just got lost on that. But the larger question is, what are your thoughts on the Americans' early path in the World Cup?
Tony, Michael, I think you can make an argument right now that this is the most favorable group in the history of the U.S. men's national team history in the World Cup. Keep in mind, recent memory will tell you they played Paraguay, they played Australia. They beat both of those teams. Yes, they were friendlies. Yes, they were in this country, but both teams are beatable. Now, I think the playoff team that fills out the group, that may throw it a little bit of a wrinkle. Turkey's a difficult team. They haven't played Romania since 1994. But the overarching thing right now is the United States hosting a World Cup. I don't think you could have got a better group.
Wow, that's good to hear. All right, but let's zero in on our team for a second. We had you on a few months ago. You were at the time critical of the United States team and the trajectory at the time.
Yep.
Give us an update, Taylor. Are you still in that place? Do you feel better about this team? And how much of that answer deals with coaching?
95% of it deals with coaching, Michael. And I think I specifically remember when you asked continues into next year.
Okay, that is good news for the United States team for now. Let's broaden this out a little bit, because you can't have this sort of day and not immediately start thinking about group of death, and if there is such a thing, and who it might be. And knowing as little as I do, I looked immediately at England, Croatia, Ghana, and Panama and thought, is that it? Let me ask Taylor, is that it? Is there such a thing in this draw?
I remember, what was it, 10 years ago, we were doing the 2013 World Cup draw, and I was actually with you guys, and we did a couple of SportsCenter hits. The group of death was a lot easier to pick. The United States was with Portugal, Germany, Ghana, England, Italy, Uruguay. But that's because, Michael, there's 32 teams. With 48 teams, I don't think you're wrong in the essence that Croatia, Ghana, and England, all three rightfully so, capable of getting out of their group. But you also got to remember, with 48 teams, if I'm not mistaken, 8 third-place teams go through. So the group of death is laid a little bit lower in my order of importance, for lack of a better way to put it. But it's more so when you win your group. And this is the most important thing I'm going to say on your show about the World Cup. England, France, Spain, Argentina. Those are the top 4 teams ranked in FIFA. If all 4 win their group, all 4 will not play each other until the semifinal. So the way the 48-team draw has laid out, they're rewarding the top 4 teams of the world. If you're successful, you're not going to play any of the other 4, when in a 32-team World Cup, those 2 teams would probably play in the quarterfinals.
All right, that leads me to a quick follow-up. Are we going to see Messi? Is this a done deal? Are you believing Messi's going to play once again on final time in World Cup competition?
I'll be shocked if he doesn't play, Michael. And listen, I'll be literally on a plane after this show going to MLS Cup tomorrow, where he'll lead Inter Miami at home. The point is this: over the last 4 or 5 days, he's kind of leaked it out that he's 50-50 in playing the World Cup. Michael, what's their group real quick? Yep, we don't even need to mention it. It's the easiest group that was drawn into the World Cup. Messi will...
Pleasure to have you.
Much
You should have worn
appreciated,
pink,
Taylor.
but thank you.
Thank
I
you,
wore
sir.
pants. Did you, Michael?
Yes.
Okay, Tony?
Yes.
I have pants. I have pants.
He
Let's take
has
one
them.
last break.
We don't know
Still
if
to
he's
come.
wearing them.
Our thoughts on how LeBron's streak of scoring at least 10 points per game came to an end.
And Penn State might have finally convinced somebody, anybody, to take their head coaching job.
I'm
What
not a
does that
soccer
mean?
guy, Wilbon. You're our soccer guy, but Taylor Twellman is a
we
great
have our
guest.
soccer guy.
He's a
Ronaldo.
great guest.
Does this mean Ronaldo wants to play? Has he made an announcement? Is he playing too?
No, he's going to announce that he's...
Wait. Please enjoy responsibly. Part of Happy Hour.